Hello and welcome to In Touch with Durham County, the show designed to provide you with information about Durham County government people, programs, and services. I'm your host, Deborah Craig-Ray, Chief Communications Officer. Today, we're so pleased to have on the show two outstanding guests. Hunger and food insecurity are significant and worsening problems in our society. In our first segment, we will welcome Raina Goldstein Bunnag, Food Security Coordinator for Durham County Cooperative Extension. We will talk about her critical work to improve food access for our residents, while also supporting sound food policy initiatives and practices. According to the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, nearly 1 in 2 women and more than 2 in 5 men have experienced some form of intimate partner abuse. That includes physical, mental, sexual, emotional, and financial abuse. In segment 2, we will speak with Shana Carignan, Executive Director, Durham Crisis Response Center, who will discuss domestic violence and Domestic Violence Awareness Month, which is annually recognized in October. Well, Raina, welcome to the show. How are you doing today?
Thanks so much. I am doing great. Thanks for having me today.
We're very glad to have you. Very glad to have you. Please start by telling our people what you do for Durham County, how long you've worked for the county.
Sure. So my current role is the Durham County Food Security Coordinator, and I'm based at Cooperative Extension. I have been in that role for a little over a year, but I've actually worked for the county for close to 10 years. I was at the Department of Public Health prior to this position, working with nutrition education in schools.
Great, great. Now, where is your office located?
Sure. So Cooperative Extension is on Foster Street. So it's downtown, just a couple blocks from the farmers market and close to Cocoa Cinnamon. I think most people know that as a landmark. Yeah.
Yes, Cocoa Cinnamon. That's a good one. Now, food insecurity is an official term from the U.S. Department of Agriculture. It's when people don't have enough to eat and don't know where the next meal will come from. Now, as I understand, this office was created in the spring of 2021 as a response to the pandemic. So as the food security coordinator, what is your primary role?
Yeah, so my primary role is to coordinate both internal within the county and then external with community partners and the city food security efforts to really maximize our impact. So many people in Durham are working to improve food security for our community and our neighbors, whether it's through a food pantry or through school meals in the cafeteria. In the county, there's so many efforts within Cooperative Extension, working with agriculture, and then public health and Department of Social Services to provide programs and policies to support our Durham residents. And in my role, I work with many of these partners to bring us together to see how we can work better together, maximize our reach, and think strategically to improve food security long-term in Durham. I did you had mentioned this position was created in 2021. Yeah. Food insecurity was certainly highlighted during COVID, and I just wanted to mention the push for this position. A big part of it came from our community members, and I think that's really important. They talked to our county commissioners and county leadership to share the need for this position, and then our leadership made the great call to really invest in this work.
Yeah, I remember it was a very good move, and again, critically needed at that point. We, during COVID, of course, we learned a lot of lessons, and then we tried to improve our community as a result. Yeah. Absolutely. So, what is the food security landscape in Durham currently?
Yeah, so we have lots of great work, as I mentioned, going on in food security. We have a really strong local food movement, many farms in Durham. We have a lot of rural area in Durham with farms, and then we have some really creative urban farms in our city in small spaces. We have many community groups, whether it is community groups that want to increase our local food capacity so that we can grow more for our people here, or groups working to improve our school meals by incorporating more foods that our students and families want to see. We have a lot of that work going on. We have some really creative work at all of our healthcare organizations and institutions to bring more food to people, really for the food is medicine movement, recognizing that it's preventive care. And even with all this work, we still know that about 13% of Durham residents are food insecure. And so we're working hard to improve that reality.
Absolutely, because yes, in my research, I did read that, actually the number I found was 14% of people in the country live in food insecure neighborhoods. So yeah, it is a big issue. So how do we address food security for our children?
For our children, yeah, that's a great question. One of the most impactful food security programs for children nationwide is our school meals program, which is coordinated at the national level by USDA, and our public schools here, DPS, in collaboration with Durham County and many of our community members and parents, worked really hard to achieve free school meals for all Durham public school students. So this is the second school year that all students at DPS can receive free breakfast and free lunch through a USDA program called Community Eligibility Provision. So that is one of the bigger impacts for children. And then we know there's other programs like the WIC program that is coordinated by Lincoln Community Center with various sites, including one at our health department. And then other programs like our SNAP, our food stamps. These really help to support families. And then our groups within the county and community and our Durham Food Security Network continuing to meet and brainstorm about how to improve food security across Durham really is, we always have a focus on children.
Awesome. So, we know that changes and reductions to the SNAP program that you mentioned are coming based on federal legislation. So how are we planning for that impact?
Yeah. Well, first I'd like to say that absolutely we know these cuts are coming. Most of them have not happened yet, and some of them are on a 1 or 2 year delay from when the laws were changed this summer. So the first thing is we're continuing to refer families to our Durham DSS, our social services, so that they can they're the experts in who qualifies for these programs, and they'll be able to counsel our families to what they're eligible for now and whether that may change. So that's number one. And then also our Durham Food Security Network, which I mentioned, we as a county help to coordinate this network. We have monthly meetings, we have a listserv, and we have working groups. We are talking frequently about what the SNAP cuts mean and how we can be prepared. There's a Durham Food Pantry Network, and they are organizing a fundraiser to support the food pantries. That there should be information out soon in the next couple weeks or months. We know that for every meal that's provided by this by food pantries, SNAP actually provides 9 meals. So SNAP is meant to be that longer, more sustainable program. So with the cuts that we know are going to happen, we don't know the extent, but we know there will be some cuts. We know our food pantries and other emergency food programs are going to be burdened because people will still need food and they'll go to these great resources. And so they're working on a fundraiser so they can be ready for that, getting more support from our community and our public and private institutions.
Yeah, that's a good thing about our community, that we do come together when there is a need. So I think you mentioned earlier a little bit about, we have a lot of farmers and farms in the area. How do you work with our local farmers?
Yeah, so in my position, I work closely. We are always inviting our farmers to be part of our food security network. We know that reality day to day for farmers is different than maybe somebody working for the county or working for a food organization, emergency food organization. So we are always wanting to hear from them about what, how they can be, how we can help them to be more successful and get food to people in Durham while maintaining enough income themselves. So they're invited to our network. At Cooperative Extension, we have some really great agriculture extension agents that work closely with our local farmers to help them to be the most successful that they can with whatever size and type of operation they can. And we also have a great food hub here in Durham, Farmer Food Share, and they work hard to connect our small and local farmers with markets, whether it's DPS school nutrition or farmers markets or grocery stores, so that they are better prepared to sell their food, which is often harder to do when you're a smaller farm and might only have 1 or 2 people working.
Sure. And then another group I wanted to ask you about, do you work with local churches who help provide food?
Yes, many of our food pantries are churches and other faith-based organizations. So they really step up. They see the need in their congregation, and many of them, if not most of them, serve the community beyond their congregation, whether it's a food pantry or fundraising. Many of them were also key players, either on their own or through Durham Can, to help support DPS in achieving the free school meals for all students. So they're great partners.
Awesome. Like I said, our community is really good about coming together when there is a need to help one another. So what can people do to assist others who are food insecure?
There's several things they can do. I think the first one is to share resources. So I think many of us receive so much information these days, and it can be easy to assume other people are seeing the same information. But I would ask people to don't assume, please share, whether it's the list of food pantries or knowing that school meals are free, knowing there's groups coming together like the Food Security Network. Please share that with your neighbors. I think it's worth it to risk that they might get an email twice. I think that getting that email twice is better than somebody missing it, missing the information. And hunger is often invisible. So when I grew up, our family received food stamps, and I received free school meals. But most of our friends and family didn't know that. It's not something you talk about. But we know with that huge, 13% and rising in Durham, it is very likely that most of us have friends or family that are dealing with this issue. So sharing the resources is extra important. And I would also say for school meals, please share the word, but also the more students that participate, the more income comes to DPS, because for everyone that receives a free, even though it's free, the USDA is reimbursing school nutrition. So the more income they get, the better job they can do. They can have more local food on the menu. They can have the capacity to talk to students more and change the meal so it's something that they're really excited about eating. So even for families that could afford to bring lunch, it makes a huge difference if they participate in school meals at least some of the time.
Very good, very good. Well, we're almost out of time. Is there a final thought that you want to leave our viewers with?
So just one more resource, the Double Bucks program at our farmers markets. At 4 of our Durham farmers markets, the downtown Durham one, South Durham, North Durham farmers market, and the Black farmers market in Durham. If you receive SNAP benefits, are on WIC, or live in public housing or receive public assistance with housing, you can actually double your money at farmers markets. So that is helping helping our families to eat more local fresh food and also helping our farmers. So I urge people to participate in that. And then just also please connect with me and other food security partners. We are always welcome more people in this work to help our community.
Awesome. And give us your website.
So it is the Cooperative Extension. You can find us on the Durham Cooperative Extension website. And then people are always welcome to email or call me, and my contact information is on the site as well.
Awesome. And we'll put that on the screen as well.
Great.
Well, Raina, we so appreciate what you're doing. I mean, this is such a wonderful calling that you have to help our citizens make sure that they receive the nutrition and the food that they need. And so we appreciate you working across the county with these different agencies and helping to make that a reality for our families.
Thank you so much.
All right. You have a good day.
You too.
Stay with us for our conversation with Shana Carignan of the Durham Crisis Response Center. We will discuss the October recognition of Domestic Violence Awareness Month. We'll see you on the other side.
You know you don't have to wear your PT gear anymore, right?
It's comfortable.
So how's civilian life treating you?
It's fine.
When I got out, I didn't want to admit that there was anything wrong because I felt like a failure. And then I realized, like, there's nothing to be ashamed of. So I started talking to someone. Maybe you are fine. But if you're not, it's okay.
Thank you.
If you or a veteran you know needs support, don't wait. Reach out. Find resources at va.gov/reach.
Welcome back to In Touch. It's my pleasure to welcome Shana Carignan, Executive Director of the Durham Crisis Response Center. Shana, we're grateful you joined us today.
Thank you so much for having me.
Looking forward to a good conversation.
Definitely.
So please tell us about Durham Crisis Response Center. How long has the center existed in our community?
Well, DCRC goes back actually 45 years since the original organization came to Durham. And then there was a merger about 25 years ago, and that's when it became DCRC. Yeah.
So as Executive Director, what are your primary responsibilities?
Well, you know, a little bit of a Jill of all trades as the ED, but my primary responsibility is, of course, balancing expenses with trying to grow our funding through grants, community partnerships, and donors, making sure that we are using the most evidence-based best practices in our field to make sure that we are serving our clients and our guests the best of our ability. We work with lots of community partners across the county and the city. We have about 25 staff, about 40 volunteers, and report to a great board of directors. So it's a little bit of everything, and no day is the same.
Sure, but very impactful work that you're doing. So please help our viewers understand this one. What exactly is domestic violence?
You know, a lot of people think domestic violence is bruises and broken bones, and that's what people think is, you know, it's an intimate partner relationship, and that's not always the case. It's often a pattern of behaviors to gain power and control, and it can be an intimate partner situation, but not always. It can come with emotional abuse, financial control, isolation from family and friends, and so it kind of encompasses many different aspects, and domestic violence is kind of the umbrella term.
So what are the most common misconceptions about it?
Yeah, sure. Again, that people think you're going to see the outcomes of physical violence, and there's a lot that happens behind closed doors that people don't realize is a part of the domestic violence journey. It can start a little bit more innocuous with having more control over people's location, like sharing location on their cell phone. It can be financial control, not letting people make their own decisions about their own finances. And the emotional, the financial, and the psychological abuse is all part of it and can lead to greater control that can result in physical violence.
So what are some of the signs that people often miss?
Yeah. It can be hard because we don't want to assume the worst of our friends and family.
Sure.
But when we do realize that somebody is being checked up on more often and they feel like they're maybe under control, they can't freely ask to or hang out with their friends and family. They may have to ask permission. They're more anxious or nervous and definitely feel like they're not able to make their own decisions. Those are some of the big signs.
Now, we know that October is Domestic Violence Awareness Month. So why is that important to bring awareness to this issue?
Yeah, it's super important. People feel like it's something that is not happening in their community, not happening in their neighborhood, not happening in their churches, and it affects across all ages, races, genders, socioeconomic backgrounds. And so to remind folks that this is here, part of our community, it's very prevalent. It's just not always in front of your face. So the advocacy and the awareness is huge, but also to honor and remember the folks that we've lost along the way. So we do an annual Saying of the Names event where we honor the folks that have lost their lives to domestic violence each year.
So do we have actual events that take place during?
Yeah.
You want to talk about some
Sure,
of them?
yeah. So that event is on October 1st. So we do that at the Durham Family Justice Center, which we at DCRC, we run that center. It's a collaborative space around domestic violence and sexual assault since we are a dual provider. But yeah, we have folks from across the city and the county that are going to come and help us read those names and pay tribute and honor those folks. And then we will walk around the block in silence to just really mark that importance. And then later in the month, on October 24th, we're going to be doing our first Survive and Thrive event. We're partnering with Alliance Health, the Durham Public Library, Durham Health Department, and we're doing that the 24th in the afternoon, and it's going to be kind of a community fair that's focused on mental health for domestic violence. So we'll have we're going to have a fashion show from the thrift store, Dress for Success. We have a thrift store called Pennies for Change. It's also going to be there. We're going to have public speakers. It's going to be a great event. We're really excited about it.
That's wonderful. That's wonderful. Now, exactly what are some of the services that you provide day to day?
Yeah, so we have 4 core services at DCRC. So the first one that most people think about is our crisis line. So we offer a 24/7 crisis helpline that anybody can call at any time. You don't even have to be a Durham resident. We get calls from out of state, even out of the country before.
Really?
Yeah, but people will call to ask for just information. A lot of times people don't know if they're actually experiencing domestic violence or sexual assault, and so they kind of want to just talk to somebody. So our crisis line advocates are trained to be great listeners, non-judgmental. We're not here to tell you what to do. We're just here to help you have resources, create a safety plan if that's what you're interested in, and just, support folks in where they are in their journey. So that's part of our crisis services. That also is housed at the Durham Family Justice Center, and we have on-site case manager as well. So sometimes we get walk-ins for folks that are needing to talk to somebody in person. We have a legal advocacy team that's also at the DFJC and is also at the courthouse. And so people will often come in to file what's called a domestic violence protective order. And so we can support them in doing that, walk them through that process, and then we can accompany them when they actually have a court hearing so that they're not alone in the courtroom, and they make sure that, they understand what's happening and what the next steps are, because that's kind of a scary thing to go through. And then we have our emergency shelter. So it is a location here in Durham, and it's undisclosed for a reason.
Certainly.
We want to make sure that people feel safe. And so we serve up to 6 households at a time in our shelter. And then we have a mix of singles as well as families with children. And so it kind of depends on the size of the family and what their needs are. And their length of stay can vary depending on what their goals are. We have recently changed our model to be to increase self-sufficiency so that we are helping people be able to move into their own safe and affordable housing by increasing that self-sufficiency, whether that's through job training or increased employment, support through the county with child care vouchers, SNAP benefits, WIC, all of those things, instead of it just being a triage model where as people are fleeing, they need somewhere safe to be on the short term, but we're moving towards something that is a little bit more sustainable and helping people actually get their name on their own lease and be able to move forward without their abuser.
Yeah, it's certainly a very complex situation.
And we have one more program. Our thrift store is called Pennies for Change.
Yes, I've heard of that.
Yes, lots of people are aware of it, but don't realize that it's associated with us.
Yeah.
And it provides actually a quarter of our revenue.
Very good.
Yes.
Very good. So, exactly how do people in need go about accessing the assistance? I know you mentioned you've got the crisis line.
The crisis line is our most used venue, and so we get about almost 1,000 calls a year. And that number locally is 919-403-6562. Operated 24/7, can call with any questions, any concerns, anything like that. And then often that's how we end up talking to people about how they can access our other services and what's available to them.
So do you work with other organizations?
Of course, yeah. Yeah, collaboration and community partnerships are huge for us. We wouldn't be where we are in Durham without the many folks that are doing, similar work that support our work and vice versa. So yeah, one of our more closer relationships that we've worked with is the Hope Team with the city. It used to be community development. Now it's called the Hope Team. And so we're working with them on increasing our access to rapid rehousing. There are grants through the North Carolina ESG competition that are specifically for DV households. And so it's prioritized for rapid rehousing. So getting hooked up with them is helping folks in our shelter and through our case management actually be able to move into safe and affordable housing so they're not going back to their abuser.
That's great.
Yeah.
That is great. Now, can you tell us about any successful intervention models that you've used with those partners?
Yeah, I think changing our emergency shelter model has been huge. We've done that in the last 3 to 4 months to increasing that length of stay. It used to be, like I said, a triage model where it was they're immediately fleeing and we're just trying to get them in a safe place. But without a place to go, it's very likely that they're going to go back to their abuser. And we know that it can take on average 7 times before somebody leaves before they actually stay gone.
7 times?
7 times, yeah. It's really hard for people to be able to break free from that. So by having that model set up where people are going to be more likely to have success in housing, I feel like we may be serving less people in each year. This is something we're looking at as we're developing this program, but having the better long-term outcomes I think is going to be more sustainable and more important for folks that are using our services.
And you mentioned children. How do you deal with the children that are involved in these situations?
Yeah, so we don't work exclusively with children. So if there is somebody that's experiencing domestic violence or sexual assault as a child, as abuse, we work with DSS. But if they come in with a parent for those services, we can serve them. But we are usually serving the adult who have children. And so many of them do choose to bring their children into shelter. They don't have anywhere else for them to go.
Right.
Sometimes the parents will opt for their kids to stay with a grandparent or something so they don't have to experience that. But we worked really hard to have a very welcoming and safe place. Our shelter is very much a home. It's decorated like a home. We try to let folks have autonomy in coming and going and providing food and, toiletries, bedding, all those things that are going to help make it feel less institutional. And so we are working to increase our 2-generational support to have better supports for our children as we look towards a more long-term model.
Well, we're about out of time. Is there anything that we didn't touch on that you want to share?
Oh, there's so much. Well, I think knowing that we are a dual provider agency, we're most known for domestic violence, but sexual assault is a big part of the work that we do, and often it does go with domestic violence. It can be secondary violence versus primary, and we also support people that are experiencing human trafficking, and that's been on the uprise, in our community and across the country, and so that's something we're learning more about and how we can better support folks in those ways.
Well, again, we want to just thank you for all the great work you're doing in our community. Can you share that phone number one more time?
Sure. Our crisis line is 919-403-6562. Want to make sure I get it right, but it's open 24/7. If you have calls about yourself, somebody that you are concerned about, a friend, a neighbor, we're always here for you.
Well, thank you so much. We appreciate you.
Thank you, Deborah.
All right. And thank you for joining us. By now, I trust you visited our new website that we launched earlier this summer. It has improved features, including a chatbot and ease of use on mobile phones and tablets. You can find it at dconc.gov. And don't forget to follow us on our social media channels, now including Blue Sky. We'll see you next time on In Touch with Durham County. Cheers.